everyone. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk this week. My name is Elyse, joined with the lovely Lisa and Ginette. And we're here to talk to you every week about happenings in the energetic world, spirit world, all the things that are going on in this life. So grab your coffee, settle in. We're gonna have it be a short and sweet one this week because none of us are feeling 110 in these physical little meat suits that we have here. But we were going to pull some cards because there's been a lot of illness, not COVID for once in the last 3 years, but a lot of people are really experiencing deep illness, confronting experiences, challenging energy, and it's been a lot to navigate for a multitude of different reasons for everybody. So we thought we would each pull some cards today, and then we'll round ourselves out with a nice little meditation to kind of ground with our guides and all the goodness to hopefully carry you through the week. So I have some cards already pulled. Do you guys want me to start or do you want to jump in? Yeah, okay. So I have some cards pulled already for the meditation, but I am working with the Alana Fairchild Lightworker Oracle. That's backwards. But I love this deck. It's really got a big energy, and I find nice when you need that, which I feel like is what we needed this week. I don't often pull for it, but sometimes when you really need a something, it's helpful. So the first card that I got was the Star Child. And this one really is talking about when we're looking at all the things that we're experiencing, be it world experiences, be it our own intense things that are coming up, especially we're in the midst of an eclipse portal right now. So that's also super intense. It can feel like, I don't know how much more of this I can handle as a human being. It feels very confronting. I know for me, I've had feelings of what does the future look like, especially when I get really in my brain about it versus what I feel, which I feel, we move in the right direction and, we're being so supported and healing our planet and ourselves in that. But sometimes with all the confronting things, it feels like a lot. And so for me, this Star Child card really speaks to, we chose to be here during this time, and we are of the stars. We are connected. We are made of the things, even from a scientific perspective. We are made of the same things that exist up there in the ethers and across the universe and all that is. And we're not separate. We're supported. And we chose to be here in this time. We chose to experience this life. And that can sometimes feel like, well, but why? Because it's a lot. But if we can start to remember that we're here for a reason, sometimes that can help kind of deconstruct a little bit of the intensity of I don't know if I can handle all this, or this feels very overwhelming. But then on that same note, the second card is the Master Healing card. So this is number 33, which I love that number, but also just the reminder of being so connected up into the ethers, but also that we are through this breakdown. I've used this analogy so many times in Spirit Coffee Talk. We are, Dexter's really snoring. He's got things to say also. But we are, as we're breaking down and, deconstructing the moldy house, we're also taking out the stuff that doesn't serve, taking out the stuff that isn't going to help ourselves, humanity, future generations. And that's very uncomfortable, but it's also very healing. And so remembering the dualistic experience of, without darkness, there is no light. Without light, there is no darkness. And we must hold both. And sometimes it feels like we're holding a lot more of one than the other. And that's where that confrontation internally can really be overwhelming, but that it all is for our own healing. And if you are experiencing illness, if you are experiencing a lot of mental overwhelm, going into yourself, connecting in with your body, your mind, your spirit to say what do I need? Maybe it's, I need to slow down. Maybe there's nurturing that you need to give yourself. Maybe there's, reconnection with someone in your life, in your family. You get cozy time at home, even though you're all super sick with whatever nasty bug is going around. There's ways in which we can not bypass the hard things, don't ignore it, but go into it, right? Because what we resist persists. So the more we can hold it, and we'll do a little bit of a meditation with that at the end, the more we can hold it in ourselves, the more likely it is to transmute and shift, and we can grow from it. So that's what that card really is about. And then this last card is the past life activation card. And for me, this is, talking about while we're healing ourselves now, we're healing our past lives and we're healing our future lives, whether that's us reincarnated, whether that's our future generations, because even from like a, biological perspective, my, grandchildren's cells exist in me now. So they experience what I experience and that imprints on them. And so remembering that whatever it looks like, whether you are to have children, whether you are to reincarnate, whether you are to ripple out your healing to the people around you, it's healing the past, it's healing the present, and it's healing the future. And that's what we're here for. And that's why we chose to be here in this time, right? Because now more than ever, that's what's needed. And it's hard. So not to say, no big deal, just, rely on the cards, but remembering that it is a both and you're supported.
I think that's beautiful. And I want to jump in with something here, if I can, before I start coughing, is this eclipse that you were talking about, the eclipse gateway that we went through and everything, plus the illness that a lot of people have been these like deeply inward turning moments where we've had to really go in further. And we've been going in a lot. And the universe is like, go further, go deeper. And we talked about this a few weeks ago of like dust out the corners, like get in the corners and get it really clean. And what I've noticed is in those corners, we're really seeing the light and the dark of self, right? The times we're really happy with things we've done, said, explored, whatever. And then times where we're like, what the heck was that? Or a trauma or a regret or anything, but to see both of them. And when I was pondering that, I came upon this beautiful introduction to a book. And the book is called Swooping with God. And it's by Kevin Semyuk. So Avalon Spirit's modern day shaman, has written many beautiful books. This one though, Swooping with God, this was his introduction. I remember when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything. So I want to read this one part. It says, it would seem at times that we can end up spending large portions of our lives playing tug of war with the past. Even in knowing that there isn't anything we can do to change it, we continue to hold on to events or spaces in time that prevent us from being who we truly are, who we are in each given moment. Sometimes all we need is a little miracle to encourage us to let go and to understand that the good, the bad, and the ugly all wear the same hat. And I was like, that is exactly it. That's why we're being triggered with these eclipses and being given the experiences of different forms of illness. And I'm talking spiritual level here, okay? So I'm not just saying the physical. On the spiritual level, when we are ill or injured, we have downtime. And we have time to heal our bodies and transmute. And in that healing, when we do it with consciousness, we can increase our frequency.
Yeah, I can definitely. Okay, I'll take over, take the baton. I agree. I think that first of all, that quote or that just left me like it almost was so powerful that I could feel it like in my gut. But yeah, I've experienced sickness over the last couple of days, as I'm sure like everybody right now has either gotten over it, is in it, or is just starting it. This crazy sickness. But anyway, my kids are in it real deep, and because they haven't been exposed to any germs basically in the last 2 years, their tiny little systems haven't built any immunity, and so it's really deeply affecting them to the point where they like absolutely require my assistance for their like survival. And so the fevers have been so high, and there's literally nothing that we can do about it. So we're given this opportunity in this long weekend. My husband's gone to Phoenix for a beautiful, fun boys' weekend for 5 days. And then me and my kids all come down with like this most brutal hit of the flu, like legit influenza A or B or whatever the hell it is. And it's so interesting because I can be frustrated that I'm doing this alone. I can be frustrated that I'm also sick and I'm having to like stay above the water for my kids. But at the end of the day, it's all about this surrender, right? Like, there's no mistake that this is going down. And there's also no mistake that this is happening on a span of 4 days when we literally have absolutely nothing to do. It's so cold outside here in Saskatoon that, like, we're not going anywhere. We're snowed in. It's like minus 35 Celsius. And, you know, talk about living in a surrender mentality. It's like, all right, well, I got Skip the Dishes to bring me Gatorade from 7-Eleven, like a lot of it. And so we've been just like Disney Plusing it, or just like laying on the couch and listening to music and having candles lit around the house. They're throwing up nonstop. I'm cleaning things. I've got sheets here. It's like, it could be a disastrous moment, but to be honest, it's actually, this is really weird, but it's like one of the most beautiful times I've ever had with them, because there's zero expectation from any of us, but to just be, you know? And so then last night, and I'll definitely brief this one over very gently, but like in my state of like high fever, I had an opportunity to kind of have a bit of an outer body experience, I could say, to make it brief. And coming back from that, I had this ultimate realization of this like importance of each other in our lives, and this like human connection that is that of humanness, but also of this beautiful source material. You know, like, I don't know, us three, we're beautiful friends, but we're also cut from this like amazing connection to God and creation that is so intense that if we forget about it altogether, I don't know, I think that we forget about this like beautiful connection that we all have. And I think COVID was an intro way on slowing everybody down. It forced everybody inside. People went absolutely crazy in the first year. But then now everyone's kind of back to work, and they're kind of seeking ways in which to come back out of that, go back into the void a little bit so that they can create that safety around them of what they want. And I think that this long story, or short story long, I guess I just made this, but this like little weekend of mine is like a representation, like a redo of the COVID situation that I had to do for 2 years. But it was just me and my babies and God, you know, like, and my 2 dogs and my cat, you know, like we're just like this like sick mess of love that we're just like, I don't know. And it forced me to 100% surrender, to release almost instantly years and years of trauma and baggage and stuff that I'm carrying around for no in particular reason. Might sound oversimplified, but it's kind of like, why are we here then? Like, why are we here? I don't know. I had like this whole kind of realization that opened up for me. I don't know if this is completely going gibberish, but I just feel this like deep connection to why we're all getting sick. It's because we're each almost individually having these like individual experiences of what COVID was for 2 years for global pandemic. We're having our own little individual kind of like experience to bring us back into the face of like removing all the noise and saying,
like a
what
rebirth.
do we want? Yeah. What do you want? And it allows you to completely surrender to everything and just be like, no, I don't know. Show me. I guess I get to choose, kind of thing. Show me the light. I don't know.
I have to just say, I'm going to make it quick too, is I love that you're saying that, because as I was pulling cards while you were talking to ask Spirit, like, what messages do you have to share about that? The first one was changing seasons, which is like embrace change, embrace the changes happening right now. And as you're embracing them, write it out. Write out what you're getting. Somehow, it doesn't have to be written, but that essentially means get it out. So journal it, share it, talk about it, to notice the things that are changing, to notice what's coming out of those dark corners, to be really aware, so that we can embrace so much more, like what Elyse was getting in her first card pull. So I think that's really neat. I just think the spirit world is really like here to help and here to answer and support as we go into this individualized rebirth through the whole eclipse season and the portal energy and all of that.
It is kind of a rebirth in its own way, hey? Like, have you guys ever got, well, obviously with the NDE, but like, have you ever gotten to that point where you're so sick that all of a sudden there's this point of like this threshold in which you choose, you're like that ultimate surrender point where you just choose to be like, all right, what do I want to carry with me? What actually matters? Because you can think that you want to do all this stuff and all this to-do stuff matters and all this exterior stuff and this internal work and this blah, 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 like all the work and all the relationships and all the success and finance and parenting and all of it. It all is like, it adds up till you get to this point of like such deep surrender where you're like right on the edge of like consciousness and you're like, what does it matter? And I know I'm not trying to downplay it or make it life not seem important, but I don't know. What am I trying to say? And I know something hit me where I'm like, it's all just an experience that we're having, but within like,
well, to bring us back to love and conscious choice, really.
Right. For us all to kind of come back to we're all here from the same place. You know, we're all here to have those different experiences, and I'm not downplaying that. But I don't know, I think that sometimes we're brought into these states of choice and surrender that is so incredibly healing, more than I'd say 20 years of therapy could be. You know what I mean? When you like get to actually have a choice from an outside perspective on life and be like, huh, how do I actually want to continue this? I get a choice. Because it's all coming from love.
Yeah, and I think we forget, to your point where you were saying, like, what am I getting at? What was coming up for me was the world that we live in is set up to believe we are not doing enough, we are not enough, we don't have enough, and we're constantly in this churn of like the next thing, and whether that's work related, family related, finance related, material things related, nothing that's inherently bad, you know, not wrong to want things or love your job or love to work or love to be busy, like nothing inherently wrong with that. And I think the world that we live in, you know, specifically more speaking to like the Western world, but sure in pockets elsewhere as well, is this idea of you must always be moving forward to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And the idea of being present, it's talked about a lot, but I think it's very uncomfortable for a lot of us. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of us to slow down and to be present with what's happening and to be present with the things that they arise, that they build and they build and they build and they build until eventually something, whether it's an illness, whether it's an experience, whether it's, you know, a challenge that comes up or a conversation or an argument with somebody or whatever it is, pops up to confront us and smack us in the head and say, hey, pay attention. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, you know, and not to like call you out, Lisa, because I know you're very present with your kids, but the average family to stay inside and rest and watch TV and eat, you know, yummy food and be cozy, who does that for 4 days straight? Like, not many people. I don't do that for 4 days straight. I have guilt. Why am I just like lounging around? Why I need to get the dogs out. I should get groceries. I have work to do. You like, I should. And we don't give ourselves that space. And so sometimes I think that, like you were saying, it's whatever it is that comes up, it's to kind of, you know, bonk us on the head and say like, stop. There is something for you in this moment. Listen to it. And if we, you know, oftentimes fight the things that are coming up, it gets worse, right? Totally. What we resist persists, and it builds 100%. And builds and builds until you reach that surrender point of like, okay, fine, whatever, let it happen.
Because it's like, I could be so uptight and this and this and this, like no sleep, endless amount of children throwing up all night. Like, you can get to a point, essentially you can only get to a point of surrender where you're like, all right, guys, everyone into my bed, because it's the only clean bed left in the house. And we're all just going to lay in a mess of fever and just like sweat it out kind of thing. And it was probably one of the most beautiful experiences ever, because I don't know, there's safety there. I don't know, it just brought me back to one of the most, I don't know, like soul connected I've ever felt in my life, like connected to source again. There's a lot more to it, but yeah, that's my easiest way of describing it, I would have to say.
And I think,
and it's funny because I picked cards. I don't know if you have any, like, what you could say on this, but this one kept coming up. I'm like, no. And I kept putting it back. And it's like,
I don't
kept
like
popping
that one.
up.
But anyway.
And it was perspective. And you see how the earth is like so far away. And when I had like my outer body experience, I could actually see the earth. Like I could see it way far this last night. And they were showing me, my guides were showing me the, like, kind of the pain and the trauma in which like humans carry. But they showed like the connection to source energy through it, in which people have found. And once you find it, it's almost like you just can't go back. Right. And it's like some people are waking up and having that connection. And there's a lot of people who are laying in the dark still. And for that moment, it didn't seem like it mattered. Right. Like it does matter. Trauma matters. But it's like it was such a blink of an eye perspective from the earth way back. And I was saying this to Ginette before we did this. So it's funny because the card says perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out. Common ground. And it is that. I zoomed right out. And the common ground was spirit. Was that creation of love in which we all come from. Mm-hmm. That was the common ground. And that's what my guide said to me when I came back into my body last night. They said, you can't ever come away from this connection to God anymore. It'll always be there. It's always like a spotlight in your life. And I'm still kind of coming back from it for sure, but it made me feel like I'm not underplaying human experience, trauma and pain, because it does matter. But in like the big picture of like your soul's experience, you're experiencing it, but don't forget about your connection to like love and source. That sometimes you have to get to the point of no return where you cannot physically do anything else but sit in it and realize none of that matters. None of the thoughts, none of the anxiety, none of it matters because here I lay, you know?
On a rock spinning in space.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's not our fault that we forget that because not everything, much of that surrounds us tells us to forget the deepest pieces that we know, right? There's a reason that children are such beautiful, intuitive little creatures because they're still so connected to that. And then it's their experience in this 3D world that starts to create that forgetting. And part of the forgetting is, for us to learn and be in this human experience and then relearn.
Otherwise, we'd never want to come here. We'd never want to stay. If we remembered the beauty of the other side, no one would want to stay. Mm-hmm. So we have to forget to be able to experience our human life. Mm-hmm. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah. And I think we're maybe told to forget more than we need to.
Yeah.
Or that would serve us, right? And that's where that both and, right?
Which I think is going to change.
Yeah. I think that is what's changing. And I think that's why we're being so confronted again and again and again. Because again, if you don't pull apart the mold and break down the very 3D, time is linear, go to work, do the things, construct that has been created for us over, hundreds of years, thousands of years. If we don't pull that down to its base, to its foundation, we'll patchwork and we'll leave pieces of it that just won't serve and will probably grow back. And so it's that deconstructing while also rebuilding, and both have to happen, but it's tough in the midst. And that's not our fault. We're just here experiencing it.
I would say too, for people that are experiencing illness specifically, or even injury, take the opportunity with that pain or discomfort, like the physical feeling of it. That's why I'm saying illness or injury. Take the experience of that pain or discomfort and actually go into it. And when you go into it, like picture yourself, say you have a fever or a broken leg. If you have a broken leg, go into the break. Visualize walking into it and looking around. Or if you have the fever, go into the energy of your fever. And from that angle, ask your guides what the message is. Now, the cool thing about pain or fever, when we can kind of be in this middle space of like maneuvering it, it's actually one of the most open spaces we can be in. But we have to consciously go into it. And most of the time we don't want to because we're exhausted, we're tired, we're, fevering or whatever. But when we can catch it and be conscious and go into it, we can actually sometimes get way more answers, information, experiences, and then much greater healing. So that's why there's always messages in it. So again, I know we got that Write It Out card from the deck that I was using, but I would Spirit saying again, like, have people go into it. Like, take this opportunity right now. Instead of running from anything you notice yourself running from, go in and look around. And they actually keep showing me like walking into a room with like an inspector's eyes and like look around. And you'll be amazed at what you find. And when you actually look around, then you realize, oh, okay, well, I just need to fix this corner and that one. But that other corner is actually really great. Who knew? I thought they were all bad.
Yeah.
Right? There's value in it. So take those moments where you're pushed to a threshold and realize that threshold is actually also giving you greater access to spirit communication and clarity sometimes. You just have to have the will to go into it. Yeah. So, do you want to do a meditation?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we have a couple cards kind of came flying out as I was shuffling before. So, but yeah, we're just going to go with it. We'll just see what they have to say. So we'll take a moment. What I've really liked to start doing is a practice before I meditate called orienting, where especially if you have a busy brain, taking a moment and just really slowly looking around your space. So sometimes when our brain is really busy and you're not like latching onto anything, you're just noticing what's around you, what's behind you. I have a snoring dog in the corner. And so when we're doing this, we're using our eyes to tell our brain, like, you're safe. Nothing inherently happening in this moment right here. Sometimes it can help us to drop in. So once you've completed that, closing the eyes, finding a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you're lying down. Don't do this if you're driving. Come back to it later. If you're doing anything dangerous. And just taking a few moments coming into your body. And so when I say that, noticing how your breath feels, noticing as you inhale and exhale, just naturally what that feels like in the body. Maybe you can feel the back body press into the chair or bed behind you. Maybe you can feel as you breathe the muscles pulling, contracting, moving in different parts of the neck, shoulders, back or chest. And just allowing a few natural inhales and exhales. And from this space, we will call in all of our divine guides, loved ones, beings, ancestors, healers, anyone that is of the three of our highest good, as well as all of those that are listening, your own individual team, your own family. And allowing them to form a supportive space around you. And so what that looks like is maybe they're standing in a circle around you. Maybe they're surrounding you in a bubble of light, allowing that to manifest in your mind's eye, however it does. Cocooning you in this beautiful energy of love, of light, of source. And so when you feel like that process is completed and they are finding their place around you, surrounding you in all of this beautiful energy, starting to deepen your breath. And as you deepen your breath, your inhales and exhales, to whatever count feels good, allowing the breath to slow and bringing your consciousness, so that awareness in your brain and your mind, and imagine that it's sliding down your spine, and that awareness is moving down, down into the body like an elevator. And as your awareness moves down into the body, the elevator doors open in your heart space. And your awareness steps into your heart space. And maybe you visualize your beating heart. Maybe you see a beautiful glowing light. Maybe you feel a sensation. Just taking a moment to notice what that is. There's no right or wrong. Noticing all that's happening in your heart space. And as you breathe, your breath starts to shift from, yes, moving in and out of your nostrils or your mouth, but you can also feel the breath moving in and out of your heart. And with that breath moving in and out of your heart, you notice this deep, beautiful sensation of love, of being held, of being supported. Maybe it reminds you of a happy memory or experience. Or maybe you're just engulfed in this deep, beautiful sensation of love, of joy. Maybe you can feel your heart warming. Being with this for just a few more breaths. We're going to move now to a space in the body that feels a contraction. It feels a discomfort. Maybe it's a physical sensation. Maybe it's an emotion. Allowing your mind, your awareness to take you wherever it goes to in the body. Could be your right pinky finger, could be your ankle bone, could be your abdomen, your brain, your back, whatever. It doesn't matter. Trusting where your awareness goes. To a place of tension, discomfort, contraction, whatever that looks like for you. Could be if you're not feeling well. And when you find that space, continuing to breathe, and just start to become aware of the same things you noticed in the heart. What does it look like? Does it have a color, a shape, a density? Does it move? Is it static? Does it have a frequency? Does it have a sound, an emotion, a sensation? Using all of the ways in which we can describe something and just noticing the different aspects of it, trusting what's coming up. There's no right or wrong. And just being with that for one moment. And at any point, if it feels uncomfortable, you can always return to the heart space. But as best you can, just supporting yourself and being in the experience of whatever is happening in that contracted place of the body. And then whenever you're ready, and maybe it doesn't feel complete, that's okay. This is something you can always revisit. Sometimes we have to hold space for these experiences a few times. But whenever you're ready, starting to pull down that loving energy, the color that you saw in your heart, all of the different heart space experiences that you had, calling them down into that space of contraction in your body. And allowing them to wrap around, hold, mix with that contraction. Not to change it or push it away, but just to love it. Thank it for being there. Thank it for being a part of your experience, because you're experiencing it means you're here. Thank it for anything that it is going to teach you or has already taught you. Continuing to use your breath to allow those two to intertwine. And if it feels complete, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. And allow it now with your awareness to start moving back up into your heart space. So you're bringing with you that sensation. If it feels complete and like it's subsided, then that's good too. And bring that back up with you into your heart space. And as you find yourself back in that loving, warm heart, reconnecting to the breath through the heart. So as you inhale, feeling that loving energy in your heart expand, and as you exhale, it contracts. And with every inhale, it pushes out a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, until you can see it expanding out away from the body. You can see it rippling out to the people that you love, the experiences you have. It starts to ripple out across your city, your country. You notice that it bumps in to our heart energy and the heart energy of others. And as you feel that expansion of the love and the transmuted experience in your body, they both wrap around the globe, connecting with others, reminding us that we are not alone in our experience. As isolating and hard as it feels, we are so supported and so loved and so connected. And as you bring your awareness back into your body, starting to notice yourself here in the room that you're in, deepening your breath and starting to bring awareness back into your physical body here in this moment. Maybe starting to take some gentle stretches and movements, wiggling fingers and toes. But noticing that that heart energy that has been connected outward is still present, even though you're in your body here. And then taking a few more deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, gently opening the eyes. And take a moment, soft eyes, looking around your space, orienting to what's around you, behind you, in front of you, and coming back.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I hope that that you were able to take something from this today, because I know we've all been going through it in different ways. So as always, make sure to like and subscribe the Avalon YouTube channel. Also, there's the Avalon Facebook group, Ginette's Wonderful Podcast as well. So make sure to check us out and all of the good things through that in the Avalon website. And yeah, we'll be back next week. I think we're going to be a little off schedule for the next few weeks as far as when we post, but we will be there with a special location coming in the coming weeks. So that'll be exciting. Okay, everyone. Hope you have a beautiful week.